What a piece of junk!
I have made myself a small checklist. A checklist to mark off things needed to be done before I can actually screw on the top half of the Falcon's whole hull. Paint the lights and then simply touch with a paintbrush of a transparent color. In this case I'm using green. I'm going to just touch several lights with that color, so now you have actually green in different patterns. I have here the top hull section. As you can see, I spray painted it flat black, but also taped off the edge over here because that portion is going to be seen later on, and of course it needs not to be flat black. It needs to be painted, however, but by making sure that the thing is masked, that the black is not going to come through. What I need to do, as you can see, I have to remove this, can you see it? This edge, there's a slight edge over here, which I explained last week, which you need to remove. This is actually the last part that has to be removed. Now there are several ways of doing it, and my preferred method is using a hobby knife. Where are we? Here we are. Hobby knife. And then cut along the edge using the existing lip as a guide, and try to slide along here. Now it may look like it's going to take a long time and a lot of effort, but in reality I can already see that the strip is, oh, you can't see it, hold on, let me move the camera a bit, that's better, that the strip is already moving, and now already my knife is underneath the strip, so I continue on sliding it along on those points where it hasn't yet, and there it is. Okay, now I can cut from the other side. No, not yet. I have to cut off this. Okay, and the last bit, we'll just do it like this because it has already been weakened. It's nearly finished. Okay, now we need to do is scrape off any irregularities which may still exist, although I can't feel any. It looks like it's fairly smooth. I'm going to sand it, however, later on, but it's fairly smooth. There's going to be some styrene sheet on it anyway. And the last thing I need to do is, there is a small pin over here. Let's see if you can see it. It's black now. There's a plastic ridge over here. It's where the part of the side panel is going to come. And there is a small ridge over here. That needs to go because in its current position the side panel is going to bump against it. So I'm going to cut off that extruding piece of plastic. And that is gone too. So now what we need to do is sand this and then put it on a styrene sheet, and that's in the next video. You're going to see what I'm going to do. After I've removed the this line which is over here, which I've shown you earlier, I have made several of these sheets, sorry, not sheets, but these strips out of 0.5 mm styrene sheet. Now they're all the same, but if I place them over here, I can measure out how long it has to be, as you can see. So I take my pencil and I draw a line. All I need to do is now cut off this section and I glue it over here, and I've done so on this side. Hold on, let me move the camera a bit. This now is dry. So here the strip has been installed. Now the same strip has to be installed on the upper hull of the Falcon, and when those are all locked in, I can scratch another thing from the list. So let me cut this strip into the right length and glue it into position, and then we can continue. Let's go through the list again, shall we? Let's see. We were supposed to remove the edges, and we did. We have removed the edges, installed new edges over here, as you can see, and these have been painted, spray painted. I've even add a small batch of that sprue glue so you don't see the edges that well. I've done the same thing on the inside. As you can see, on the inside also the edges have been added and spray painted in the correct hull color. Of course, these are subject for weathering later, but that's the hull color. Next on the line, we had to dim the headlights. There was a problem with one of the cables for the headlights. It broke off. So what I was thinking, well, I could repair the headlights and then repaint it so it will be dimmer, but that would result in the fact that you probably would see paint smears all over the lenses. So what I did, I removed the white lights. I replaced them with the warm LEDs, the same types I've used on the bottom on the landing gear lights, and I've wired them in series, so one resistor is now taking care of both the lights, which results in a much more, let me put it on, a much less brighter and more warmer light. So that has been taken care of as well. Oh, I have also, of course, made sure that the resistor is not right in the back of the lights. It is over here, and there is about 20 centimeters of cable from the resistor to the light, so I have plenty of room to get this part out, and these cables will make sure that I can take this part out and then access the screws over there. I had to repair the inside blue-grey pipes, as you can see, have been reinstalled. Then, which I have up here in the front, all these frames have now been painted gloss black. That has been taken care of as well. Then seat belts. There is seat belts installed now on the, I will show you later, on the Navigator chair, and seat belts are about to be installed on the sofa, although I believe I can still access that even after the cover has been glued on. The engine strip. This is the engine strip which was supplied with De Agostini. The idea is, or was, and let me turn the Falcon around if I can. The idea is that this light strip is to be installed with the indication inwards into this into this strip. There's a edge over here where it will fit in. With the lights on, the pattern would be visible. Now, a couple of months ago I already purchased this part. This is a 3D printed flexible piece of plastic with these strips cut out. So I thought, well, what I just do, I put this strip on the back, and when the light goes on I have even more of a more 3D hinted pattern. However, what I discovered to my horror is that the holes on the 3D printed version were larger than the holes or the white bars painted on the back of this strip. So luckily I have been in contact with some Facebook groups on building this Falcon, asking suggestions how to proceed, and what they said was, take a strip of that styrene, that 0.5 millimeter styrene you have, put that strip on it and then use that as a light. Yeah, that worked too. So I added a bit, I spray painted a hint of purple on the back, which when lighted up gives that hint of purple when the lights are on. You can't see it when the lights are off, but you can see it when the lights are on. So that's been taken care of, and these two will fit in the strip in the back. Another part of the list was close up the gunwale. That I meant with that the gunwale on the top hull. I have added a piece of styrene onto it, which I've painted red on the inside, so the light will be locked. And the battery grip was one of the last things I had to do. I was supposed to make something to prevent the battery pack to slip out of this position when the Falcon would be moved. I have done so. I have measured out the height, and I have made a small cardboard block over here which corresponded to the height of the frame. Then used some hot glue to manipulate the position of this block onto the back, onto the inside of the backside, and painted that black, and here we have this cardboard block, which still requires some more painting and some sanding to make it more nice looking. And this is the correct height. This will press onto the battery block, so whenever the Falcon is moved, or maybe turned upside down for painting, this block will push down the battery pack onto the plate, which will prevent it from dropping out and damaging everything. We now have to put the top hull section of the Falcon on the bottom section of the Falcon, and in order to do that, before we do that actually, we need to fix the cockpit tube to the top section of the Falcon. Let me get, hold on, the top section of the Falcon right now. It's heavy. There we are. And we need to, let's see what we need to do. Turn it around, find the tube, which is over here. Hold on, it's a bit big, so we need some extra space. Let me put the cockpit tube out of our way. Let's see now, we need to remove, which panel do we need to remove? As far as I can see, the entire panel? Yes, the entire panel needs to be removed, so we need to get our screwdriver, which I've placed here somewhere. Let's see, where is it fixed? That's a good question, where is it fixed? Hold on, I need to find the exact position where the screws are, because I can't... Oh, it's over here. Now, of course, that the black paint is on, it's a bit difficult to exactly find out where the screws are. Let me find a position point where we can keep these screws on this paint jar. That's one. Two. As far as I know, there are only four. How many screws do they say there are? Hold on. It doesn't say how many screws there are, but I believe there are four of them. Okay. If there are four of them, then it should be all four of them right now. Is it loose? Yes, it is loose. Okay. What we need to do now, let's see. Now we need to fix this panel onto here. As far as I know, I can see. Hold on. There are two holes over there, so it would seem that the holes go in the pins go in the holes. Yes, and I need to screw it in. What kind of screws do I need for that? As far as I can see, the brass screws. Let me find them. It's a bit messy around here. I'm trying the long brass screws first. Not quite sure if these are correct. But I'll see how far it goes. I'm not going to glue it in, although I might have. Okay, the long one indeed seems to fit. That is to say, is it going to emerge on the other side? Yes, actually it is. So probably not the long one then. Medium size then perhaps. Let's try those. Okay. Let's close up this box of screws again. And now I need to get this panel back into place. Let's see, let's screw the panel back in. Make sure that the cables, of course, are correctly positioned. Here it is. Okay, let's put the screws back in. No question which screws I need to use, because these just came out of this hole, so these are the correct screws that I can be certain of. And the last one. And I'll probably need something to make sure that these cables are secured, not dangling. So I'm probably going to use something like hot glue or something like that to have these cables fixed into place. Let me put this away for a minute. And let's see how it looks. If it's okay now, let's turn it around. Yes, that looks okay. And let's see where I'm going to put them. I believe I'm going to put them around here somewhere. I believe in this location they will do the least damage. The moment of truth has arrived. We are going to put the top half of the Falcon onto it and screw it shut. I would rather not open her up every time something needs to be repaired. So for all intensive purposes, this is hopefully going to be a permanent connection. Before I'm going to screw on the Falcon, I will of course need to connect, and let me turn it over here, you can see. We're going to connect these cables to the cockpit, and we have to connect the top gun well to the circuit board. And let's do that first. Let's connect the gun well to the circuit board first. Let's see, where should it go? It should go, hold on, I need to see where it has to go. It has to go over here. This is going to be a bit more difficult than I thought. I need to hold this up and then try to maneuver the cable into the empty socket. And before I'm going to screw everything in, of course I need to check if everything works. Well, let's temporarily put it over here. Now I need to connect the cables. Let's see where the other cables are. They are over here. So let me connect. Let's see. This goes in here, and of course I need to check if everything works before I screw the thing shut. We have a purple connector. Can we see this? Okay, we're going to turn it on a bit so you can see. We have a purple connector over here. Okay, we have a red connector which goes over here. We have a green connector which goes in the green plug, or vice versa, and the last one is the blue one which goes in over here. Now let's hope that I made enough room in the Falcon so these cables can be secured. But before I do that, let me switch on the Falcon itself and see if everything is working. Okay, the lights should be on now. Are they on? That's a good question. Oh, of course they're not on. Now the lights are on. Okay, I can see the lights are on in the gunwale, so that thing works. Is the light on in the cockpit? Yes, that is on. Now let's see if this is on. If I switch this switch, yes, these lights are on. I do not, and the blinkers are on. Let's switch everything off again. Let's switch everything off. As said, now I need to position the top on the of the Falcon onto the bottom of the Falcon, and hopefully I have enough room, spare room, for these cables. Let me first try to get them into position a bit. Maneuver this a bit over here, and here goes nothing. Okay, here we are. These cables are not over there, they should be over there. It's a bit springy, but I think it'll be okay. Right, let's get them into position. Where are we? Here we are. Okay, now let me see if I can get everything in its correct place. Okay, let's see if I'm correct. It should, yes, this is okay. And now let's see if this will fit. Let me switch off the camera for a few seconds until everything is in place, and then I'll get back to you. It's a good thing I shut off the camera while doing this. This was one of the most frustrating things I've ever done. I finally got all the screws in, and then I found out I had done them backwards, so I had to remove all of them again, which was actually more of a blessing in disguise, because now I can actually screw in the screws in the pins over here on the side, and then push them inside, push them together and screw them shut, which actually went a bit more easier than the first try. So let me explain a bit how I made these side panels. This is the original configuration as supposed by DeAgostini. The orange lines, those are the hull plates of the top and the bottom section of the Falcon. The green lines are the metallic framework. As you can see, on the metallic framework there are these little metallic pieces with screw holes. This blue is the side frame, which is going to go on this side, and then using screws, and let me show you these screws which are supposed to go in. Hold on. You're supposed to screw in these screws, little tiny ones. So that is how DeAgostini suggests you should make these side frames. What I did was same configuration. This is the outer hull, and the green lines are the frame. The blue side frame is then put on the inside of the hull. As you can see, this is the section where the hull is, this is where the hold and so forth is, and it's on the inside. And I use, hold on, these screws, these long ones, and on the other side I use a nut. As you can see, these are the long screws going in, and a nut on the other side. Now when the top goes in, let me remove the screw. When the top goes on, I use the other long screw and screw it in, but I won't be able to access, of course, the interior for adding another nut. It's not need to, because this is so sturdy, this is so straight up, that putting a screw in here, a long screw, is long enough, as you can see, long enough to keep this secured. So this is how I connected the upper and the lower section of the Falcon in this configuration. I had a thing on its side between my legs screwed up, and a lot of screws fell through the holes and ended up somewhere inside the Falcon. Luckily I got a lot of them spare, so they're all in. And I had to check quite just right now, And yes, it still works. Let's see, is the thing on? Hold on, no, it's on. Hold on, main switch. Here we are. This light is still on. It's very bright, this light, by the way. Maybe I do try it. Maybe I will try to get the window in. But I'm not quite sure if that's going to work right now anymore. Believe it is not going to work anymore. Getting the windows in. This is very bright. Maybe I can actually dim this light a bit. This is very bright. Luckily, the cockpit light is still working as it should, and the main toggle switch, which will then light up the rest of the cockpit. Now the top and the bottom are connected. I am going to glue in, or partially glue in, these docking ports. Before I do that, I need to glue in, hold on, I need to glue in the side mounts, these things. I got them here on the sprue. We got 4 of them, one for each side, one over here, the other on the other side, and of course 2 on the other docking port. However, do not be confused, or actually be confused, because even though they look the same, they are not. They are in fact different, and you can see the difference a bit on the detail over here. Is missing over here. Read the instructions carefully, because this one goes over here, and this one is already glued in, and this one goes on the other side, but also make sure that you glue in the right one. Talking about gluing, you're supposed to glue them in, of course, bottom and top. I didn't do that. I only glued on the bottom, because this of course needs to be able to be removed again, and if I glue it shut, then that will not be possible. After these side panels are in, so one over here and the other one over there, I will able to glue in the docking ports, and this is the one that goes over here. I explained earlier there is a difference between the two, and this one I have drilled in holes. The other one has distinctive markings for the ramp. So whenever these are glued in, then I'm going to glue in this one, but only of course the lower half over here, not over here. There are pins, as you can see on the bottom, pins over here. Those go in the holes which are over here next to the LEDs, which of course need to be glued in as well. There are also pins up here, as you can see, and there are holes up here. Now this is the point, I need to remove these pins, because if I don't, then I'll probably not be able to remove the top cover anymore after this. So this is the next part, gluing in these side panels and gluing in the docking ports. Both docking ports are now installed along with their side panels. This is where I leave it for now, for this week. There are lots of things to be done, namely, most notably of course the weathering. I'm going to start weathering on the bottom side of the Falcon. In order to do that, I would either need to turn the Falcon upside down and use perhaps the existing assembly jig, or I'm going to create some sort of a cushion and have it stand upright on my desk, so I can spray paint the bottom side of the Falcon, and it will say the same of the top perhaps. But most likely I'm going next week to work on the details of the back panel, because there are a lot of holes you can see, and a lot of small parts need to be installed on the back panel before I can completely weather that as well. Thank you for watching. We'll go back to the Falcon next week and we'll see what we're going to do then. Back panel, weathering, or maybe even the landing gear. We're not completely finished with her yet. Well, we'll be seeing you next week then. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And for those who have done so, thank you for helping me with this channel, and see you next week. Bye!